So there is a gap here because the Vito van has finally sold. Because I've had a phone call from the guy with the Mercedes and he's pulled over on the side of the motorway with an oil light on the dashboard. You live and you learn. It's a daft mistake. It's going to cost me because obviously I'm not going to leave them out of pocket for bringing it back here. I believe this is how car dealers work. They buy cars and they're in this condition and they need to do nothing to them. As you know from the channel, that is not the case. So there is a gap here because the Vito van has finally sold. If you remember, I had that Vito van for a while. Only 75,000 miles, 2013. It was a really nice van. Remember, if you watch regularly, the interior of the Vito van was mint. It drove lovely. We put a new advisory free MOT on it. We fixed the door that wasn't working, fixed an airbag light, I think it was, and we serviced it. And it just would not sell. I dropped the price and dropped the price. Normally in December I don't drop prices because I know in January things will pick up again. And I think if people aren't buying cars, people aren't buying cars. So if you drop the prices, you're just taking a hit for no real reason, because they're probably still going to end up buying the car in January just at your new lower price. So personally, I'm going to sit it out. Luckily, I don't have stock financing, so I don't have to worry about interest or anything like that. Anyway, that was an exception because I was sitting around for a while. I've ended up making the grand sum of £300 on it, on a £8 vehicle. So not brilliant at all. And because I only had £300 in it, I couldn't put a warranty wise cover on it because that was £200 to put the cover on. So I've had to use my logistics self warranty. So I have an account with logistics and it allows me to print off. It's really good actually, I have to say. I do like it. It allows me to print off a fully printed out warranty with all the terms of what it covers, a process of how to make a claim. I pay a couple of quid I think, and I get telephone support, so I am able to have a telephone number on that form that they can ring to process a claim, because obviously I'm running around busy. And that's all part of my logistics account, which is basically self-warranting the car. But obviously it costs me nothing to do it other than a couple of quid or whatever it is to have them manage the phone calls. So because otherwise obviously I'll be down to £100 on it, and we don't know there are going to be any claims on that vehicle. We've done all the prep. Obviously that van I drove loads myself as well. Previous videos I've driven it around quite a bit. We did 2 test drives in it. The first test drive they went out and came back and said they thought it was making a noise. So I went back out with them. God, there's some wind on today, so apologies for that. You know, locally my test drives are all on country roads. This chap, he's come from abroad, so his English wasn't the best, but as we were driving along at 50 mile an hour, I said I needed to go quicker, and couldn't get this noise to happen. It took me to go slightly over the national speed limit before the noise was actually present on quite narrow roads. So I'm surprised he managed to make this noise happen, and it was just the wind from the rails on the roof. But he needs those. He's a painter. He's going to put his ladders across the top, and so that's just a sort of necessary evil. So it's gone. The money's in the bank. Obviously 300 quid is not a strong margin at all when you've got a diesel vehicle on a 10 years old with 75,000 miles on, and you're given a 3-month warranty. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I've got some new cars to show you as well. I have been buying, even though, like I say, this has been the quietest month I've had for a while, but that's going to happen every now and then. I think it's mainly because I haven't got a lot of cars actually up for sale, and the stuff I have got isn't the sub 5k, it's all about 7-8, so I think that's to be expected. But this is a nice buy. Now what I did here is I traded out the Ford Ranger pickup truck I had. I traded that out. I keep pointing to empty spaces, apologies for that. Again, if you watch this channel, you know that this is like a vlog, and things happen as they happen. It's real life. I'm not setting up cameras and tripods and editing in a month in advance or whatever. This is sort of real life as it happens. So the Ranger went, but the person that had it was a trader, and I said, have you got any? I always ask this person, have you got anything else? That's how I got the Suzuki Vitara over there, the low mileage Vitara that I've still done nothing with. And he said, well, actually I've got this Cougar. And he bought it over, and he only likes to do sub 50,000 mile sort of 5-year-old cars as a general rule, but he does do commercial, so he made a bit of an exception getting a truck. But it's a 63 plate Cougar, and it's really nice, gunmetal grey, and nice spec, really nice spec. I've just been for a drive in it. It drives really nice. It's only 59,000 miles. Get away from the wind noise now. We've got Bluetooth cruise control, DAB radio, auxiliary inputs, air conditioning, the front heated screen you get on the Fords, 6-speed 2-litre diesel. The interior is mint on it. There is no damage to the fabrics. I'm really pleased with that, and I got it at trade price, obviously, as part of the deal. And Cougars have always done well for me. Like I say, this drove really nicely. Just went for about half-hour drive in it, and can't really knock it. He did actually have this car before. It was his wife's car for a long period of time, and then he prepped it and sold it retail, and then just taken it back in on another vehicle. It's keyless start and keyless entry as well. Full service history, and the bodywork on it is really good. There is only one issue with the vehicle. He says that. That's not true of cars are sold, is it? Only one I know of at this current moment. Now, if you look at that now, it looks absolutely brill, but if we dry a bit off, you can't see. If you dry a bit off, the paint along the top is a bit cracked. It's been painted before by the looks of it, and the sort of lacquer has got some crack in it. To be honest, if I wet sand it and buff it, it might come up better, because as you can see, when it gets water on it, it looks really good. So maybe painting isn't necessary. Or do I just sell it as it is, cheaper? You know, I could probably knock £500 off the price of the car and leave it as is. Perhaps they can do valet and clean it, photograph it, put it up for sale, and then when someone comes along, give them the two options. That's probably the best, because you can't take the money back out of the car once you put it in, and someone might want it cheaper. Plus, we don't know what the new year holds. Prices for cars might continue to go down. They're not tending to go down on this kind of stuff as much as they are on prestige stuff. Now, the second car I've bought, you're all going to be shouting at the camera for. Again, those that are proper choppers and watch me a lot will know that I've never said nice things about Coopers because of the Prince engine. That 1.6 chain driven engine has a bit of a reputation for getting various problems, but I have to say I'm getting braver on them, and the reason I'm getting braver on them is now, again, I keep saying, if you've seen the channel for a while, so apologies if you do watch the channel all the time and I'm saying all the time, or you've just come along to the channel, but we've done a few of these now, and I've been told that all of them were going to have problems, and I've ended up selling all of them after servicing them, and they've all had full service histories, and I've put good warranties on them, and touch wood, I haven't had problems. I've sold them in the DS Sports, which is the same engine. I've sold 3 of the Minis with the engine. I've sold the DS Sport with the engine, and to be honest, they can make funny noises. What happens with them is because they're direct injection, the valves get a little bit coked up, and that can make the idle a little bit erratic, and you can think you've got problems. The water pumps are quite complex and they can get a little bit noisy, but fundamentally, if you accept that you know, they might have slightly erratic idles on them, in general, they're, again, I mean, I'm probably jinxing myself by saying it, but they've been all right. This one, again, low mileage. I can't remember what it is, and it's too cold to go and get the keys. It is at a sub 60,000. I think it might have been sub 50,000. It's got a full service history on it. That's bang up to date. It is a Cooper S, and it's the Roadster, so it's the one with the little boot on it and a spoiler that pops up. I've checked the hood. The hood's not leaking. The spoiler's coming up. I've been for a burn in it. It goes like these. I mean, you cannot deny these things are fun to drive. They've got a rock hard ride, and they do like fuel if you really put your foot down, but there's no denying they're stupidly fun to drive. I have to say, of all the ones I've had so far, this has got the quietest engine. Again, I might be jinxing myself now, but this one is really smooth. So I don't know, maybe the other ones just got a bit more coked up, but yeah, this one is super smooth, and I have to say the ride of all the ones I've been on is slightly better on this. I think perhaps maybe I had bigger alloys, or maybe I'm just thinking that, but no, this one, like I said, the service history is good, it drives well, it needs a good old scrub of the hood, it needs a good machine polish of the body, recolour the plastics. Again, you could stick it out the door pretty much as it is, but I reckon we can take this up quite a level with some chops buffing on the go, and it should be a good little seller. Probably not necessarily now this time of year again, but possibly in the new year. But I did also think, comment down below, this would probably make a really good charity raffle car, wouldn't it? Let me know. I mean, perhaps people say in the comments they don't like it at all, but perhaps people think it might be a good charity raffle car. Let me know what your thoughts are. Now, the little Picasso that's been sitting in the corner forever and day. Again, apologies, I don't have a mic on it like that. I know the wind is really strong. The little Picasso. I was trading this out because if you remember, I bought it and it wouldn't move at all. We thought the clutch had gone. So we got it down to Moore's, put a clutch in it, and then it started crunching in third gear. I decided enough is enough. I'm not putting any more money into this car. I'll sell it out and trade with that as a known fault. Well, the boys at Home Built decided they wanted it. So what they said though is we want to drive it back. Will you put it for an MOT, which is a really challenging thing to do when you're trading out a car, because if you imagine if it failed on a load of stuff for the MOT, the boys probably would back out of the deal and then I'd be left with a car with a bad MOT on it trying to trade it out. The risk with a trade car is that you might have to do work on it. That's why you get it super cheap. So it'd be kind of like doubly hit if I'd have MOT'd it for them and then it turned out I needed a load of work and they backed out of it, and then I'd have to sell it even cheaper again to somebody else. But it passed with a few advisories. Obviously I'm not going to do advisory free for a trade sale. The boys will take it back up there, get the advisories done, and then either presumably present the customer with evidence they did the advisories or put a new MOT on it. But yeah, it passed its MOT, so other than crunching in third, it's now MOT'd, and that makes it a cheap car. I did try and double declutch and see if that improves third, see if it's something someone could live with if they wanted a real cheap run around, but to be honest it crunches every time, so it does need a box. So yeah, the boys will come and pick it up and they'll be able to drive it back to Scotland, and I imagine they'll get great MPG out of that nice 1.6 diesel. I say that actually, you know, having driven it back and forth to the MOT station, it drives absolutely lovely. Our 1.6 Ford Focus has now got two new eyes, thanks to Pete. If you remember, this came in with one headlight that was cracked and damaged. Someone had drilled it trying to get condensation out of it. We put the new one on, and then the old one looked a bit rough, so we got a second one, so now it's got a brand new face on it. 1.6 petrol this one, wasn't it? We did a service on it. It felt a little bit lethargic when we first got it here, but it turned out it never had spark plugs, so we did spark plugs, oil and filters on it. So it now just needs a clean before it's photographed, and I want to wet clean the seats on it and give it a good old valet. But a nice looking car in this sort of metallic grey. I think a 1.6 petrol Focus might be more popular at the moment than a diesel one, with the way people are buying cars at the moment, but we'll see. Right, another car we got back from work as well is the Ford Fiesta. If you remember, we got this a little while ago, mega low miles. What's this, 38,000 miles? Might even be less than that, I can't quite remember. 65 plate. It went down to Malcolm at MJM Auto Body. That was why I had Pete in doing the Hyundai i30 the other day, because Malcolm was working on this one. If you remember, it had a ding up here where the door handle was, and being silver, it's nothing I wanted to get involved in because silver is a nightmare. As you can see, Malcolm has knocked it out of the park again. There's no colour difference there at all. You look at it from the angles and you can't see any sort of, the crease line is bang on along here, everything like that. It was quite a small repair, but a bit of a complicated one, and I imagine is always what I love about Malcolm is he sends me these pictures every time of the work he's done. You don't just get the car back, you get pictures of the before, after, middle progress. I might even stick them in now if I can. And he doesn't muck around. I think this was taped off down to there, taped off there. He wouldn't have taken the colour back to the corner here. The colour would have gone to about here, and then it would have lacquered here, I imagine. But no, looks absolutely bang on. Massive thanks to him again. If he's watching the video, sometimes he watches the videos. He's a bit of a ledge. And that now, it was worth doing because it was a super clean car and the mileage was there. It does have an MOT existing on it, but I think I might go and get my own one done because I think they left a couple of advisories on it. I don't like to sell with advisories on the MOT, unless of course anybody comes in between and just wants it at a lower price point. So I've got some nice smaller cars in, but they all seem to be low mileage, which means obviously the price point for them is all higher. If this was done 80, 90,000 miles, even 100,000 miles on it in the current market, and it was like well, it'd never be on a 2015, but if it was a 2010, say, with 80 or 90,000 miles on and be like a 3k-ish car, probably sell in a heartbeat. But in the current market, I think this is around 7 odd K money. I don't think that I think we'll be back into the new year before stuff like this starts selling again. I did buy something else, but it's so nice, I've kept it tucked up inside, so I'll come and show you. So the last buy is a Nissan Qashqai, or cash cow as we like to call them in the industry, and that's because, not because we make huge margin on them, but because they just sell so quickly. Everybody loves a Qashqai, well not everyone obviously, but a big proportion of the population loves a Qashqai. Now the reason this one is inside is because it's so blooming clean that I don't need to do much to it to get it photographed and get it up for sale. So I didn't want to leave it outside in the dirt. This is, I mean, look at the headlights. It's a 2012, but totally clear headlights. You've got no stone chips across the bonnet of the car here. Corners of bumpers are free of any scuffs. All your grille and your chromes bang on. Alloys haven't got any curbing on them. They're in nice nick, no scuffing on the wing mirrors, no dings along the side. It is just, you don't get. People like to believe in the industry, not people in the industry, people outside of the industry like to believe this is how car dealers work. They buy cars and they're in this condition and they need to do nothing to them. As you know from the channel, that is not the case. This is very rare that you get a car this clean, a 2012 car that I do not need to do any paint to at all. It's not dinged up along the back here. The edge of the bumper, the loading edge isn't all scraped up. Like I say, all the alloys are bang on. Edge of the doors are good. I'm going to show you how picky I have to be to find a fault with this car. There is one little stone chip blister just there on the edge of the door. That literally is the only thing I can pick out for you on the bodywork of it. Isn't that mental? Inside, is locked. Inside is also mint. You've got a cloth there from where I was keeping the floors clean, moving around. You had rubber mats in it fitted everywhere. All the seats are absolutely bang on. It's not the highest spec one of these. It's still got cruise control. I think that's cruise control, isn't it? Yeah, Bluetooth, aircon, CD, USB. Obviously you can get the ones with all leather, but yeah, look at all the plastics. They're all beautiful. And the mileage, 46,943. So low miles on a 1.5 diesel. We like the 1.5 diesel in here. The Chops Garage. It's a torquey little devil. It's got like 200 odd foot-pound of torque, isn't it? Because of the Stepways, the Qashqais. And it's a really good combination of a bit of punch, but with really good fuel economy, good road tax. Yeah, rear seats are immaculate. They've all got the rubber mats in them still. Again, all the plastics are bang on. Had a drive of this. Again, drives really well. I didn't find any issues with the drive at all. Look at the mat in the back. Look at the condition back here. Yeah, real nice. Again, I don't know if it's the time of year for it to be selling or not. It might be a January car. This is one I do not see myself underpricing against Auto Trader on. I don't see, it's got full service history as well. I don't see why I'd knock it down against Auto Trader's recommended, because the trouble with Auto Trader recommended is an average across all of the cars. How many Qashqais do you think in this kind of condition? Not a lot. So if I put it up at the Auto Trader recommended, it's going to be better than 99% of the other cars at the same price out there. So I don't see why I should underchip it on this one. Talking of which, all the cars we're talking about here, before people start emailing me messages, please check on the website. The cgcarsales.co.uk will have all the prices for these vehicles, and I'll put a link in the video description down below. So before you message me, check the pricing, because I know sometimes people can think cars are worth X amount, and they need to go and check and make sure before they start making inquiries. So just out videoing the Qashqai. As per normal, I've been using my phone recording all morning, and it's got to 4%. And there's another reason I like having these little topped on jump packs around, because not only do they jump the cars, but when I get in this situation I can carry on recording instead of having to wait 20 minutes for my phone to charge up, because they've got the outputs, the USB outputs on them to allow you to charge stuff as well. So I can carry on recording this now, get the video up. So I'm pulled over on my way home. Why is that? Because I've had a phone call from the guy with the Mercedes, and he's pulled over on the side of the motorway with an oil light on the dashboard. First time ever happened in what, 3 years is it getting on now, and hundreds and hundreds of cars. I don't think it can be a coincidence with the fact that we've serviced the vehicle that the oil lights come on, because I've driven that van loads before. We did 2 test drives when he came to see the van, and the oil light never came on. The only thing that's happened different wise is those are very short runs, and he's now obviously done a long run down on the motorway. I've said to him that if he's checked the oil is okay, and the engine seems to be running okay, he's only a little bit further from home. I said you might as well just go home, because if it does munch, I'm going to be on the hook for it anyway, doesn't it? So you may as well carry on home. I did offer for him to come back. I'd go back to the unit, have a look at it, offer him to turn around and come back, but that's actually a further distance than it is for him just to go home. So if I need to get Adrian and go and pick it up, that's an option. But I think I need to do a bit of research on perhaps what might have happened, see if anybody else has come up with similar problems after servicing the van. Absolutely typical, isn't it? Lowest margin vehicle, and it's the only one to throw up a serious issue. Touch wood. I'm touching my head. Right. Anyway, these are the kind of things you end up just sitting at home mulling over, and because we can't do anything today, it's too late in the day, and it's Saturday tomorrow, so the likelihood of me getting anybody to have a look at it. So these are the things that are going to bug you until you know what the score is and whether you're down potentially thousands of pounds or not. So Saturday morning I'm back in. It was Friday night that I was driving home and we got the message on the Vito. So I said I was going to be worrying about it all over the weekend. Well, actually, things have progressed a bit from there. So I had emails last night. Now, I don't blame these people at all for putting in an email rather than a phone call, and I'd recommend this any time, to say what their issues were that they had, that obviously the oil light had come on. It still was there when they got home, and a switch had fallen off the end of the stalk. They sent me a picture of the switch on the end of the stalk now. They said it's been glued on. I didn't glue it on, as you know, everybody here knows that's not my style at all. Anybody who watches the channel knows that is not my style at all. It must have happened with the previous owner, but I have to say again, I drove the van lots and I never broke the end off the stalk, so it could just be clumsiness, but I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, so they emailed that. So I emailed back and said, look, situation is I'm 100% happy for you to bring the vehicle back for a full refund. In fact, I might get it transported back from you because I don't want to get any more damage done to the engine, and I'll just refund you in fuel, and I'm going to refund you in full, and I'm going to cover you for your fuel from coming here. Always first thing do, offer a full refund. In that short period of time, offer a full refund. It's easier. If people have lost confidence in the vehicle, then you're going to have more problems going forward. So it would just offer a refund on the vehicle. So I said that. I said, or you can get a local garage to plug it in, find out what the issue is, and then come back to me. But after I sent that email, I did a little bit more research, and I thought, let's be logical about it. I used the van several times without any problem. We took it for 2 test drives, no problem at all. What's the only thing we've done differently to the van? Well, we serviced it. So I started doing a little bit of research. It turns out on the Mercedes, now some of you are probably going to be shouting at the screen at this point, some of you experienced people, that the Mercedes, if you fill them to full, when they get hot, the oil exceeds the maximum level on the dipstick, and it gives you an oil warning on the dashboard. Now, obviously, don't get me wrong, it could still be oil pressure, it could still be an oil pressure sensor, but you've got to be logical about it. What's the only thing we've done differently to when the van was fine before? So I thought about it. Well, I remember the guy saying to me when he pulled over that the oil was at the maximum. Now, what he could have meant is it was slightly above the maximum. Now, if you think about it, again, the test drives were quite short. He's now driven all the way down there. The engine oil's got really warm. If it was going to show us over by a small amount, then it probably was going to happen when the engine was at its full hot operating temperature. And he's probably been doing 80 mile an hour on the motorway, 70, 80 mile an hour on the motorway. So it makes sense to me that probably what's happened is we've filled it to the maximum with the service and he's driven off, and then that's what's happened. That's what I think has happened. So I subsequently sent the person an email by saying, I've done my research. Here's a link to what I found, because I always send people links to where I found the information on the forums where it said this, where it's happened with a number of people in the past. I said, I think this is what's happened. So what I will do for you is, if you want to go to a local garage and have them drain a bit of oil off and then test drive the vehicle again, they can plug it in as well and check it's nothing more serious. We can go that route. I said, or you can still bring the car back for a refund if you, like I say, if you wanted to, or you can bring the vehicle back here and I'll refund you your fuel costs for bringing it back here and we can have a look at it. And I didn't hear anything. I've just had a message back from the lady, really nice message, and she says, James, we can tell that we like you and we're confident that you're going to get it sorted, and we still like the van and we'd like the van, so we'd like to bring it back to you and have you have a look at it and just take as long as it takes to get it sorted. That's brilliant. When you're working with people, I mean, because it is an inconvenience to them. They're driven all the way from Western-super-Mare to me, picked up a van, driven it back, had that scare on the way home. Now they could come back again and then potentially come back again. You know, that is some serious flexibility being shown there. So I'm going to move heaven and earth to make sure I give them the best service I can. Of course, I'm going to cover all their costs. I'm going to make sure they're not out on fuel. Probably make sure I get them lunch locally if they're hanging around, or just give them a little bit extra on top to sweeten a deal or something, or get them a gift, something like that. But I'm hoping when we get the van back in, that's all it'll be. It'll be us to drain a bit of oil on. And then obviously what we'll do is we'll plug it in, check it out, check out the codes on it, drain some of the oil off, because I'm pretty confident that's what's going to be. I'm 99% sure that's what's going to be, and then take it for a long test run and see if we get the same issue or not. At this point in the video, you always need to put the call out to the idiots and say, please bear in mind, I am dealing with cars that are over 10 years old and normally have done over 70,000 miles. All of my cars go out the door with advisory-free MOTs and they go out freshly serviced. And I do hundreds and hundreds of cars. And all the time I've been doing that, again, those who watch the channel will know that I think this has happened on 3 occasions where I've had to offer people money back on cars. And I think it's only twice that I've ever actually done it for faults that have arisen from the vehicle. Because they're old cars. Things that you can prep them till the cows come home. And just the law of averages says when you're doing hundreds and hundreds that sod's law is on their way home, something's going to ping up. And it's not a case of whether old cars are going to have problems or not. It's how you deal with them. So, yeah, before we say, oh, people are going, oh, if you prep your cars properly, blah, 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 blah. You know, and this thing about the oil levels, well, how the hell are you supposed to do that? They provide you with a vehicle, they provide you with a dipstick, and they provide you with a level on dipstick. And 99% of cars out there want you to set them to the maximum level when you service them. So these things can happen. So if anybody's saying otherwise, they're just being unreasonable and just looking for attention in the comments, to be honest, as far as I'm concerned. So Saturday afternoon, the chap's brought the van back. What a lovely guy, absolutely lovely. His friend brought him up, who was also an absolute star. His friend was interpreting for him because he's pretty good with his English, but he just needed a little bit more help. They loved the Firebird, so I gave him a little bit of a treat and revved the Firebird up while they videoed it. But yeah, so chilled about the situation. So he said on the way here, the message changed from red to orange. I've checked the dipstick on the oil. It is over full when the engine is warm. So I said, right, did it change from red to orange and it stay orange? He said, yes, it did. So I started the car up, or the van up, if you want to be specific about it. Yes, so I've turned the van on and it says engine oil level measuring in progress. So we'll let that run a second. The thing he said had come off was the end of the stick here. And if I give it a good pull, it will fall off. Now I think I've lost the spring on the floor. I'll fish the spring back out again. But I think I don't think anybody's glued it. I think what he thought was glue was grease on the end, electrical grease. But I think it's got 1 pin, perhaps it should have 2. But I don't see that being a hard fix. I think you're not actually supposed to pull it, you're just supposed to push it. So I think he's probably pulled it when it just needs, it's a push function, not a pull function. So that's probably what's pulled it off. Engine oil level, reduce oil level. So that's the warning. I was 99% sure that's what it was. And obviously it's a relief to know that is what it is. It's not an engine problem. It's just a mistake on our part by filling it 100% with cold oil. And then when it's warmed up and he's gone for a longer run, it's taken it over. And that's the warning light he's got. Presumably it's settled down a little bit and it's not coming up red now, it's coming up orange and telling him to do that. If I start it with it out of gear, yeah. Wants me to depress the clutch. You've got no engine management lights coming up. You've just got the warning for the oil engine level. So yeah, just like I say, you live and you learn. It's a daft mistake. It's going to cost me because obviously I'm not going to leave them out of pocket for bringing it back here. Not their fault, so I want to cover their fuel costs for coming up here and when they come and pick it up. Now you could have said drain some oil off, put that back on and send him on his way. But understandably he wants me to double check that I've 100% diagnosed that correctly with a couple more test drives. And we're both in a rush. I had to get off, he had to get off, so we've agreed he's going to leave it with me, and he said, look, you can have it for a week if you want to test drive it. So I'm in total respect to the way that he's approaching the situation. A lot of people think that screaming and shouting is going to get their way, but that kind of approach from me, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to bend over backwards for you. So, I mean, obviously I'd sort it for anyone, but I'm going to go over and above for this chap. And what I did for his friend is I gave him a Top Don top scan. I had some on the shelf, thanks to Top Don, and I thought he was so into cars, that chap, and the chap that brought him up, he was so into cars, so loving the Firebird. He was doing the translating for me for the other chap, and he was reassuring him that it was just the oil level. We did try and suck some out with that, but it wasn't working. So I thought, well, you know, he's been such a top chap, I'll give him something because of running his friend back up again, and presumably he'll be running him back up again when he comes to pick it up. So that's it for Saturday. I've had enough. I'm off home. I'm off to meet the lads for a few drinks. I hope you've enjoyed the video with some real life car trading in it. Just before I head off, I will remind you that this little beauty is up for grabs on the raffle. We are giving this 2018 Citroen C1 away. It's £2 a ticket, and we are supporting the veterans charity with this. So that is the charity that supports veterans who are having tough times. 2018, 40,000 miles, will come out to you with a brand new MOT, and I'm also going to throw in a 6-month warranty wise cover with it as well. £2 a ticket, as I said. I'll put a link in the video description down below. This thing is pretty much as new. It'll be a cracking little run around for someone, or if you won it and were able to give it away as a gift, well, I'm sure whoever received it would be absolutely chuffed. As said before, if for any reason you want to get involved but you're not really bothered about getting a car, I will put you together a big bundle of top-don technical equipment, probably about £1,000's worth or more of top-don technical equipment, and then we will sell the car off and give the proceeds of that also to the charity as well. Like I say, the link will be in the video description down below. As always, like I say, massive thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.